Hey everyone, today I've got your Slender Man movie review. The tale of Slender Man comes to life, but is it worth seeing? So as far as the story goes, based off of the myth of Slender Man, this horror film brings a group of friends together to conjure him up. Now, what I got from the film right off the bat was that it felt like a mix of The Ring meets Ouija and Truth or Dare, which are other horror films that, I may or may not like to recommend. While I was only interested in seeing this movie because I played the game, which came out, many years ago, and it was really popular back in the day, and you have to find all these 8 pages, I wanted to see how they were going to bring some of those types of elements, maybe not exactly what was set in the game, how, playing that type of game would make you feel while watching this movie. Now, it does get into some of the myths of, who this character is, but I felt like the purpose of that was really short-lived, and there really wasn't much going off of that, other than it just showed these 2 places that I would never want to see myself be alone in: the woods and a library. So as far as the casting goes, you've got, some actresses who I have seen in movies before, and some that I have not. You've got Joey King and Annalise Basso, who I have seen in the horror genre, so it was really cool to see them once again in this type of movie, and I felt like they were more of the standout characters in this movie, unlike some of the other actresses, and those other people really weren't given much to do, or at least things that I didn't really care about. So the things that I liked about this movie was that it did have some scary parts in the film, and I was really scared by the imagery, which did remind me of the tape from The Ring. And even though this movie is called Slender Man, the character of Slender Man was not as scary for the most part, but I felt like the times when you couldn't really make him out, when he was in the background, and I guess it's what you can't really see and how you really feel is what really would scare you in a movie like this, and not necessarily the character himself, even though he does some really crazy things in the movie. Who's scarier in the game. So while this movie didn't have a lot of truly terrifying scenes, and maybe there were a couple jump scares here and there, it's just, trying to be more than just your typical horror film of this genre, and even some of the music sounded like it was coming from the Ring soundtrack, and I felt like I heard some notes of sounds that were straight off of those Fear games with that little girl, and I've played those games several times. So unfortunately, the things that I didn't really like about this movie was that it didn't always keep me interested in, whatever was going on, and so I was kind of bored watching it, and I think that was also due to the fact that, it was predictable, and being like other movies that I have seen before, so maybe it wasn't exactly as original as you would expect it to be. And there were a few mediocre scenes that just made the characters' actions really cheesy and sometimes coming off as forced. So overall, I would say that this movie, even though there were some good things I liked about it, I feel like the majority of the film was, even though I didn't expect to see things, or obviously it had nothing to do with the recent events that tragically had this one girl stabbed, so it had nothing to do with that real life event, but I feel like it wasn't as good of a representation of this character, so I'm kind of on the fence about recommending it to you guys. I mean, it still is, considered, an okay horror movie, so it might just be a guilty pleasure of mine in the end. So I would give this 1.5 hearts on the heart rate scale. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought of Slender Man, and as always, you guys can subscribe to my channel. I've got more movie reviews, movie updates coming every week for a Chill Thursday video. You guys can also like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, and I will see you guys later.